Hey folks, Ted from Immersion here, and let's talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, but let's talk about it in a format that most of you are not used to seeing here on this channel. So if you know anything about me, you would know that my start as a gamer comes from video games way back in the day, long before I ever dabbled in tabletop role-playing or Dungeons & Dragons. So why not marry the two of those together in the thing we're talking about today, Solasta, Crown of the Magister. This is a game that is available currently on early access via Steam. It came out in October of last year, and it was processed and part of a very successful Kickstarter. So you can actually go and pick up a copy of it now in early access. There is no projected date currently, as far as I know, of when the final product will be done, but it'll be done when it's ready. And from what I've seen so far, it's very well done, and even more impressive when you know that the team behind it on the development side is really only around 15 to 20 people. So, well, what else do we want to know about Solasta, Crown of the Magister? Well, this video is sponsored by them, but my opinions are my own on this. And, you know, I wasn't really sure what to expect going in, but I think at this point, I can honestly say this is the most faithful adaptation of a tabletop game to a video game, and specifically Dungeons & Dragons. If you understand the 5th edition rule mechanics, everything makes sense in Solasta, Crown of the Magister, right? There's no funky, weird workarounds. You have bonus actions when you would have bonus actions. Nothing's giving you funky access to other things. The dice, which is probably one of my favorite parts, are clearly shown on screen, and what's kind of crazy and fun, you actually have a list of dice that you can pick from to decide, like, hey, if I'm rolling an attack dice, are my dice blue? Are they green? Are they metal? If I have advantage, what does my advantage dice look like? Does my regular dice look green and my advantage dice look orange or red? What do the enemy's dice look like? What do the damage dice look like? Do I want to customize my damage dice based on the type of damage that I'm doing? Things that we do in real life in Dungeons & Dragons, right? You might have a set of Fireball D6 or a set of MILF's Acid Arrows D8s? D6s? I've never used MILF's Acid Arrows, so I don't know. But what's also really interesting, on top of everything I've already mentioned, it's all built under the open game license. And if you know anything about that, I've explained it a little bit on the channel here, but this means that they are basically full third party. They don't have to deal with the kind of, you know, expensive licensing agreements and who knows what is going on with that kind of stuff. By working with Wizards of the Coast, this is using basically the basic rule set that's free on the internet that anyone can use to develop their own third-party products, which more often than not, we see that in the form of books or supplements. This is a whole video game developed using that license. And from what I've seen in early access right now, it goes up to level 6. It is about 10 hours of gameplay, and I haven't finished everything, but there's some aspects of it that I really like. You could choose pre-designed characters if you want, but you can also customize your characters. So it's a 4-party team, and you can basically make the entire team yourself. If you don't want to use pre-rens and you say, well, I would like to, hey, I have a wizard that I've played. Okay, bring in your wizard, and you can make your wizard, and then you can make your paladin and make your rogue, and then you can custom create the entire 4-person team that you're gonna make. You're gonna have what I really like, and it's kind of silly, but it's a thing that I really enjoy. Your options for character creation are point buy or dice rolling. And the dice rolling are completely random, right? You can sit there and roll, you know, as many times as you want and hope for the best. And I'll be honest, I did that because why not, right? There's no downside. It didn't give me one roll and I was locked in. I rolled and I had like my first roll on one of my characters. I got 2 17s and a 16 for their stats. So I was like, well, we're keeping that stat, you know, or I could have used point buy if I wanted something less swingy. But there's no downside to trying to roll, so that could be a fun thing for a lot of folks. Are you interested so far? Well, if you'd like to get a copy of this game for yourself, you can obviously go pick it up on Steam, but I'll actually be giving away 2 different keys to 2 lucky winners. Details for how to enter and when the giveaway starts and ends comes later in the video. You'll also recognize a lot of the races there. Obviously, we're going to have access to the ones. The names may be slightly changed, but the mechanics will be the same for a lot of these different races that you're used to seeing, the ones that are captured in the open game license, as well as you'll recognize the classes as well. You've got quite a few options for different classes at the moment. Clerics, you've got rogues, rangers, paladins, fighters, and wizards. I know sorcerer is at least something that's going to be after launch as a free DLC, and that covers a lot of different things. And I haven't been able to play every single class to see all of the different aspects of it, but I'm curious to see how they deal with certain aspects of certain characters, like, say, the ranger. I've already gotten to the point where my party has gotten all their subclasses, so I've been able to see the differences in the paladin oaths and, you know, the different options for the rogue. And there's a lot of interesting things, and I like the way they handle a lot of it. Again, because you can see everything and everything is specifically designed the way it's supposed to be in 5th edition, there's no funky mechanics, right? If I cast guidance on someone, it gives them guidance on the next ability check. It doesn't hang around for an expected period of time and then disappear. That's how it goes. And they added so many little tweaks that make perfect sense to me. For example, as a paladin, when I reach level 2, you don't look, you might look around and say, well, where's my smites? Well, you don't have to have that. When you hit a creature, it says, do you want, it'll pop up that you successfully hit them. If you have the spell slots, it'll pop up and say, do you want to smite or do you want to pass? And because simple things like the fact that smiting only works when you hit. So the game mechanics are designed that when you hit, it asks you, oh, hey, did you want to smite? And then you can say yes, and then it'll go on. Same thing with opportunity attacks. It gives you the option, if someone's going to leave as your reaction, it gives you the option, would you like to take the opportunity attack against them, or would you like to pass? And then say you were to hit, again, as a paladin, it will say, would you like to apply a smite to that? If you're a rogue and someone moves on a different turn and triggers an opportunity attack that would give you sneak attack, it automatically applies the sneak attack damage like it should. With things like shield, the monsters are also intelligent enough to know to cast shield to avoid a magic missile, but if something is attacking you and shield would cause it to miss, you'll also get that pop-up as your reaction. Would you like to cast shield or would you like to pass? All of these little simple things that make stuff way better are all added in to the game. Not to mention that there are also custom cantrips and custom spells that are not part of the open game license that have been added in here. And from what I can tell, they all seem to be relatively balanced within the terms of 5th edition, to the point where I may be bringing them in to my own game. So let's talk a little bit about the story. Well, one thing that I really like up front is that your characters seem to all know each other, which alleviates that whole aspect. And the way the game is designed, the missions are told, the intro is everybody's meeting at a table and you get the backstory of everybody's character as you're sort of going there. So it's like, well, what happened to you on your way here? And your character plays through a starter intro mission to teach you some of the mechanics of the game. And then that's your piece. And then it goes to the next character and the same thing happens. It also seems that, like, the personality mechanics that you pick for your character are really important. For example, like if you choose to be an egotistical person, or you choose to be lawful or chaotic, or however you break that down, seems to heavily dictate the dialogue options that you're given, as they rightfully should. So when you get into a, if someone poses a question and it's kind of posed to the entire group, you'll see your 4 characters options across the bottom, and they're usually very different. Even if it's something like talking to a shopkeeper, someone might say like, oh, hi, how are you? Another one might say, who are you? Another one might say, we have stuff to sell, or we need your services. Very simple, but it's a nice little touch that's not needed that really helps to sell that these characters are unique. It also goes on to have certain characters with, like, the highest history bonus, for example, will be the one making the history checks. if you are someone's proficient with survival, after you beat a new enemy, they make a survival check to see what kind of knowledge they can learn about the enemy they just defeated. The other things that I love is the travel mechanic. So rather than have you have to run from point A to point B, you know, point and click and run your entire way there, they have this interesting concept where you can choose, you go to the world map from whatever like isolated, you know, zone that you're in, whether it's a town or a, you know, like a outside location, a dungeon, whatever it is, and you click where you want to go, and it gives you the option: do you want to travel at a light, you know, a regular pace, a fast pace, or a slow pace? Traveling at a slow pace will allow you to be stealthy. Fast pace will allow you'll miss things, and a normal pace is normal. And what's interesting is it spells out little things that your party has done during the travel time. And then when they reach, it basically follows standard 5th edition mechanics. If they travel for 8 hours, then they will need to rest for 8 hours. And when they sit down to take a rest, it gives you little things like so-and-so started a game of dice, so-and-so started a prayer, started doing armor maintenance, whatever. And your rest can get interrupted if bandits attack, and then it will then you go into an encounter where you're fighting whoever. And then they'll come back out, do you want to continue your rest? Also, you can interrupt your rests as they're happening to set up crafting that you can do in your downtime while you're resting. So the crafting mechanic happens outside using hours, but if you're traveling over land relatively quickly and days are going by, your crafting will be accelerated so it's not cumbersome. Also, food is an important mechanic in this game, right? Each day that you travel, you need to consume rations. So you can buy them, but if your characters have decent animal handling or survival skills, they might be able to scavenge food as you're traveling through. And it'll say, you know, so-and-so found an apple tree and got 4 units of food. And now you have more food so that you don't have to run the risk of getting starvation and getting exhaustion levels and things like that. Very simple mechanic, very nicely done. If you're moving at a fast pace, you'll likely encounter more enemies and miss out on those little interactions, whereas a slow pace, you'll have less chances of running into enemies, potentially less XP as well, but you might find more things. And it doesn't necessarily have to just be food, it could also be crafting items for making potions or scrolls. The crafting mechanic, also done very well. You find a recipe. As long as someone in the party is proficient with whatever tool is required to make it. Currently, it looks like there is herbalism kit for making potions, scroll kits for making scrolls, poisoner's kit for making poisons, and it's called a Monocolin Rosary, which is basically, that's lore in the game, that allows you to make magic items, assuming you have the right item and the right sort of materials and the right recipe, which you can find either in the game, some you can buy from people, or traveling and looting off corpses and chests and things like that. What don't I like about the game? Well, it's something that a lot of people do, but you can't level up until you take a long rest. And rightfully so, long rests are not a thing you can just take anywhere in the world. You have to be in either in an inn or at like a safe campfire location, or if you're in the process of traveling over land, then you can get a long rest. And so if you've gotten the ding that you've leveled up, until you're able to get access to a long rest in some way, you can't access that level up immediately. That makes sense in the mechanics of 5th edition, and what I see a lot of people do when I play. I'm just not a huge fan of that in a video game. The camera angles can be kind of janky at times. It's point and click. It's not point and like hold down and move. You click where you want your party to go and they will run there. So you can get into some issues where camera angles, and if there's a verticality to the fight, it might get a little wonky there. But again, it's still early access, so I'm sure that can be smoothed out. Personally, for me, some people, I might say they might have issues with the character models or the way the faces kind of look. I'm like, my characters, I chose bright eyes, so they're very like piercingly bright. So it kind of takes you out of the game a little bit. But the mechanics and the facial things very much remind me of the games that I grew up with. So it's actually nostalgic and endearing to me, but some folks might have an issue with that. But I do like the inventory system. I like that I can see all of my equipment slots here. everything my character has in their inventory, and then I can easily just, if I want to drop something on another character, just drag and drop it over. I also have quick access to all of my ability scores, as well as my AC, initiative, how much my movement is. For example, this character can't move very far right now because he's encumbered. My hit dice, my main attacks, and so on. Here's those personality things I was talking about. But then I can click on this and it'll show different abilities of my character. I can check a quick look at all of my different proficiencies, what I'm proficient in, what the different things are. Here's what I have access to crafting here, and then my different spells that I have access to. And this is obviously the same across the board for the different characters that I've designed here. I also really like this, the overlay is very clean and simple, I think, to use. It's all can be pretty much done just with the mouse. You don't really need your keys at all. You can hit the spacebar to pause the game, so if you have to walk away, it is a single player game, so you don't have any issues there. I spoke to an officer. I can click to read what happened, the actual breakdown of that conversation. I can look at my adventure log to see what's happened on the however many days. Like, I've been playing for 8 hours, but it's actually been 31 in-game days. Here's that bestiary I was telling you about, right? As you can see, my knowledge is 4 out of 4 for acolytes, but only 1 out of 4 for brimstone vipers, because I've only fought them once and only maybe rolled 1 successful survival check after the fact. They have a nice social mechanic with the different factions that you're involved in to show where they stand. And this, if they're sympathetic towards you, it might give you access to purchase or services you wouldn't normally have. And then again, a base tutorial. There is no Wikipedia as it stands right now, but you can kind of get a base Wikipedia in here if you were to like click on these little drop downs and say, well, how does movement work? It'll kind of give you a nice breakdown. Takes a little while to scroll through. This is a little clunky. I wish I could scroll a little faster, but that's not too bad overall. Also, I'm not sure if I said it at the start, but the folks from Solasta are giving me 2 keys to give away. So I'll be able to give away 2 copies of this game to 2 lucky winners. All you need to do that is to be subscribed to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. I will pick randomly from those comments down below, and I will shoot over those folks copies of the keys so they can start playing the game themselves. So basically what I'll do today is the 14th. Also, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I will take this to, let's go the 16th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. At that point, I'll pick 2 random comments and reach out to those folks, and they'll get free copies of the game. So anyway, thank you once again to Solasta Crown of the Magister for sponsoring this video. This is a fantastic passion project from people who clearly, a small team that has an immense dedication, a love for Dungeons and Dragons, for classic adventure games, and it shows in every aspect of this game. I love this. I am excited to play it. Paladin is one of the starting classes, which is my favorite class, and I was able to basically import my rogue, my wizard, my paladin, and my cleric as my party. So take all of my characters from my favorite campaigns and put them in a party together and get to play all of them where I also don't have to be the DM. And really, what's better than that? So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for continuing to support me and the channel. I'll see you all next time.